welcome to all of you, especially if you're visiting with us today. We're really pleased that you've chosen to celebrate Christmas with us. In the center aisle, we have these, what we call our blue pads, and we'd love for you to pass those down your row and let us know that you're here today. We are not taking an offering as part of the service, but you do have the opportunity to give with the little QR code in the pew pad. Afterwards, we've got cookies and hot chocolate in the fellowship hall, which is right back there, and invite you to stay for a little bit of time and share some holiday joy together. With COVID as it is, we just want to make sure that unless you're taking a bite of your cookie, keep your mask up, or unless you are taking a drink of your cup, keep your mask up, because we want to keep one another safe. We will be passing candles, which is part of the fun of a Christmas Eve service. And just as a friendly reminder, only tip the one that's not lit. Otherwise, we will invite you to come back and get the wax off of everything. So just tip the one that's unlit, all right? And so throughout the service tonight, we're just going to stay seated. We'll be hearing readings and singing carols. The words of the carols will be on the screen in front. And now I invite us to worship God in gratitude for all the gifts that we receive from God, including the gift of life itself. And let's start by singing O Little Town of Bethlehem.
In God's house, there is hope, for God loves us too much to leave us just as we are.
In God's house there is peace, for all that separates us from God falls away.
In God's house, there is joy, because God created music and coffee and dance floors and laughter that is contagious and endless rounds of peekaboos with babies. And if those things have God's fingerprints, then God's house surely exudes joy.
In In God's house there is love, because God is love from start to finish, and that love exists for us all.
And in the center of our hope,
And in the center of our peace,
in the center of our joy,
in the center of our love, is God, who came to this earth to dwell among us.
so tonight we light the Christ candle, for God's love just could not stay away.
Dinner. Go. Dinner.
Do we say, welcome home?
Welcome home, Mama.
In those days, a decree went from Emperor Augustus to all the world should be registered. This was the first registration and was taken while Quirinius was governor of Syria. All went to their own towns to be registered. Joseph also went from the town of Nazareth in Galilee to Judea, to the city of David called Bethlehem, because he was descended from the house of David. He went to be registered with Mary, to whom he was engaged.
Child. While they were there, the time came for her to deliver her child. And she gave birth to her firstborn son, and wrapped him in bands of cloth, and laid him in a manger, because there was no place for them in the inn.
Jesus, In that region there were shepherds living in the fields, keeping watch over their flock by night. Then an angel of the Lord stood before them, and the glory of the Lord shone around them, and they were terrified. But the angel said to them, "Do not be afraid, for see, I am bringing you good news of great joy for all the people. To you is born this day in the city of David a Savior, who is the Messiah, the Lord. This will be a sign for you. You will find a child wrapped in bands of cloth and lying in a manger." And suddenly there was with the angel a multitude of the heavenly host, praising God and saying, "Glory to God in the highest heaven, and on our earth peace among those whom God favors." When the angels had left them alone and gone into heaven, the shepherds said to one another, "Let us go now to Bethlehem and see this thing that has taken place, which the Lord has made known to us." So they went with haste and found Mary and Joseph, with the child lying in the manger. When they saw this, they made known what had been told them about this child. And all who heard it were amazed at what the shepherds told them. But Mary treasured all these words and pondered them in her heart. The shepherds returned, glorifying and praising God for all they had heard and seen, as it had been told to them. In the time of King Herod, after Jesus was born in Bethlehem of Judea, wise men from the east came to Jerusalem, asking, "Where is the child who has been born King of the Jews? For we observed his star at its rising and have come to pay him homage." When King Herod heard this, he was frightened, and all Jerusalem with him. And calling together all the chief priests and scribes of the people, he inquired of them where the Messiah was to be born. They told him, "In Bethlehem of Judea, for so it has been written by the prophet. And you, Bethlehem, in the land of Judah, are by no means least among the rulers of Judah. For from you shall come a ruler who is to shepherd my people Israel." Then Herod secretly called for the wise men and learned from them the exact time when the star had appeared. And then he sent them to Bethlehem, saying, "Go and search diligently for the child, and when you have found him, bring me word so that I may also go and pay him homage." When they had heard the king, they set out, and there ahead of them went the star that they had seen at its rising, until it stopped over the place where the child was. When they saw that the star had stopped, they were overwhelmed with joy. On entering the house, they saw the child with Mary, his mother, and they knelt down and paid him homage. Then, opening their treasures, they offered him gifts of gold, frankincense, and myrrh.
So I need the help of all the kids who are here today. We are going to kind of do a scavenger hunt. I want you to find all the Marys and the Josephs and the animals and the wise people and the angels. Did I say the angels? Okay, do we got everybody? All along the side, you'll see Marys and Josephs and all of that. So I want you to bring them to me if they're individual characters. I don't need the whole set, just the individual characters. So please go and find them. I want them all. And then grab them and bring them up to me. Ben, you were right there in front of us. You got those, okay? Yes, we need baby Jesus. Did I forget to name him? I should have written it down. No, you just hold on to him. Come on up. Come on up. We're gonna make a full manger scene. We're gonna have a whole bunch of Marys, right? Okay. First thing, put down your Josephs right in front of here. That is a Joseph, yes. And that has no face, and it doesn't look like it's holding something, so that's a Joseph. So put it right here down on the floor. All the Josephs together. That is a Joseph. Yes? We got any other Josephs? You got some Josephs. All right down there. Are you sure you found them all? Ah, yes. There are still some up here, aren't there? Yes. Yes. There's still some more Josephs up here. Okay. Next we're going to do Marys. Marys are going to go right over here, right next to Joseph. Okay? If you've got a Mary. Okay, over there. Put the Marys.
What is it, Mary?
That is a Mary. She's holding the baby. And that's a Mary. Right over there. Yep, you got it.
Where are the Josephs?
The Josephs are right here. Okay, do we have all of the... Oh, you found some more, yeah. We left some. We don't want to leave anybody behind. Okay, so the next thing we need in the story are shepherds. So let's put the... That is a Mary. You got to put that one over. Yep. You got a Mary as well? Okay, put her over there. Now, are we sure we got everybody? You got a llama, yes. Okay. Shepherds, right there by Tommy, right where... Mary is right over there. Right by Cameron's feet. That's where all the shepherds are going to go. We're waiting for Jesus yet. He hasn't been born yet. What do you got? You got some animals. Yep, those are wise men. They haven't gotten from where their homeland yet. All right, what's next? Who do we have next? We need angels, because the angels told the shepherds. Let's put the angels over here, right by my foot right here. There's a lot of angels. You got an angel. Let's put it right here. There you go. More angels. Where are you guys going? Did I not tell you to get angels either? See, I should have kept a list. Well, I only got one angel. There was a multitude of angels. Is there really no more angels? Well, this obviously is Angel Gabriel. I can't believe there's no other angels. Oh, you found them? Okay. All right. So then Jesus was born. So let's put Jesus right in front of Mary and Joseph, right there. There's a Jesus, okay. Careful not to take this down. There you go. What do you got? There's a Jesus, yep. Right over here. The angel fell over, yep. We got all the Jesuses. Everybody got it? Okay, what do you got left in your hands? We still have some animals. Okay, so we need to put the animals all over because he was born around. Yeah. I know I said animals. Are all the animals up here? Just spread them all around. And do you know which direction the wise people came from? They came from the east, so which side is the east? Where's the east? It is that right. You are correct. Put the wise men right over there. Don't step on Jesus. Okay. I can see there's still some wise people out there. They're up here by me. Yep, there you go. Can you reach them? They're wood, so it doesn't matter. Oh, here's a baby. Here. You take the baby, there's a cradle too. Okay? Do we have everybody? Okay, why don't you have a seat? Have a seat right here. I'm going to stay standing because I don't think I can get up as easily as you can. So I want to ask why there were shepherds there that night. Why are the shepherds important? Yes. You're not really sure. Okay. Do you know? Okay. Well, the shepherds represented something very, very, very important. Shepherds smelled terrible. Shepherds didn't get to take baths very regularly. Yes? They represent the disadvantaged, is exactly right. So the angels came not to some royal family, people who are rich. They came to shepherds who were, in their world, they were poor, they were smelly, they were rowdy, in fact. They enjoyed themselves in the evenings, and they were not welcome in polite society. Why were there angels in this story? Yes? What's that? Good. One reason there were angels there was they represented God. And so God was present in all of this as well. Okay, why do we have, they're wise men, or they're magi, or they're also, they are Zoroastrian astrologers. Can you say that after me? Zoroastrian astrologers. They were people who really liked the stars and all that kind of stuff. They believe the stars had the answers to everything. Yes. Let's try it again. Everybody help Logan. They were Zoroastrian. Your mind is not taking it in. Okay. One day it will. Zoroastrian astrologers. Okay. They were wise. And you know what? They were wise enough that when King Herod said, "Oh, I want to go see him too," that King Herod didn't mean it. King Herod was mean. And so they were so wise, they didn't go back and tell Herod where Jesus was born. That was really important. Okay, why are there animals there? Yes. Yes. Well, yes, some of them went along with the shepherds. Yes, Daniel. They was born in a barn. Yep. Yep, absolutely. Because there was no place to go. In the inn, no place for them to sleep. Animals also represent creatures who love us unconditionally, right? If you go home, an animal, whether or not it's had a good day or not, is going to show love to you. So it seems right that we would have animals in the nativity. Okay, Joseph. What's important about Joseph? He could have walked away. He could have told Mary, I don't know why you're pregnant. I'm leaving you alone. But he stayed around, which is very important. He was also, one of the things I like about Joseph is he dreamed. He was a dreamer, and he listened to his dreams, and he followed his dreams. And I think that's really important. I listen to my dreams, and I hope that one day you will too. Mary, why is Mary important? Yes. She is the one who had the baby. Exactly. Did you have one, Ethan? You say the same thing? Okay. Well, Mary was a very powerful young woman, a girl actually, who believed God would use her to change the world. So Mary was not a meek and mild little wallflower. She was so powerful, she believed God would use her. And then one more thing. Who else have I mentioned? Yes. Jesus. Exactly. We're here to celebrate his birth. Yes? And what's important about this story is that he was born a humble, yes. What were you going to say? He was God's son? Yes. Yes. It's important because it was his birthday. One of the things about Jesus, born in a stable, means he was humble, he was poor. He didn't come from a rich family. God came to the people who were most poor and underprivileged and struggled in life. And that's who Jesus helps us love. And you too. And that's our story. Thank you for helping me. These are all my nativity sets. I love these characters. I've got like 50 of them in my office and in here. So you can go back to your seats, and if you don't have a nativity scene like this at home, we have some stickers and a cave. Do you want this one? There, when you leave, you can get them on the way out. Now we're going to listen to Lauren. Beautiful. And you wrote that yourself. So I have a story I want to tell tonight. And it's a true story, but it didn't take place on Christmas. And it didn't take place among Christians. It's a true story that took place during the holy season of Ramadan among Muslims in the Sudan. And so, at this time of the story, Sudan was so dangerous. You needed a permit to leave the capital city of Khartoum. But still, there was a teacher that regularly took students, 20 at a time, in the back of a flatbed truck out into the desert for multi-night trips. Now, travel outside of Khartoum was not only dangerous because of violence, it was dangerous because shifting sands in the desert made it nearly impossible to maintain roads. And whenever sand covered up the roads, and sometimes it was for miles at a time, they had to trust their instincts. They had no GPS, no phone service. Well, long after they had last driven on an actual section of road, rumors began to spread among the students that they were lost. And when dusk came, sure enough, the driver admitted it. And don't ask me why, but he insisted they had to keep moving on. Why they didn't wait for daylight, I don't know, but it wouldn't work in the story, I guess. It was true, though. So during the holy month of Ramadan, observant Muslims don't eat or drink anything between sunrise and sunset, including water. So when the sun had completely set, it was time for the students to break their fast, except it wasn't supposed to take so long to get to their destination, so no one thought to bring anything with them to eat or drink. It would be at their destination. Well, as they kept moving forward, the headlights stretched out for miles into an empty desert. And just then, when they were feeling their most desperate, most hopeless, they hit a rock. And some wires were torn, and now the headlights didn't work. And that night there was a thick layer of clouds, and so there was no stars and no moon. And they were traveling in total darkness. This is the middle of Africa in the desert. Total darkness. One person walked ahead of the truck, leading the way, and another stood in the back, sort of looking over the cab, trying to tell the driver which way to go. And they wandered in the dark for hours. Hour after hour, they lost hope more every hour. Because they knew what happens to people who get lost in the desert, and it wasn't good. And then one of the students in the back of the truck said, "Hey, isn't that a light?" And everybody was excited and looked, but no one else saw anything. They all squinted until someone said, "It's just your imagination." But the student insisted, "There, on the horizon, I think." Well, maybe. But with no better option available, the guide directed the man in the front of the truck toward the only light at least one person saw. And she kept saying, "It's over there. No, over there." But it was clear it was only her imagination. If the light had been real, it would have gotten larger as they got closer. It was a mirage. But they had no better option. So they kept moving in that direction that someone thought it might be something. After a long while, someone else said they thought maybe they saw something too. And after a while longer, another person. And they kept going until everyone saw it. And you know what it was? It was a candle. One candle. So there was a Bedouin camp, nomads, who live in the desert in tents. And one of the Bedouins couldn't sleep, and so she came out of her tent and propped up a crate on its side and dripped some wax on it and used it to hold up a candle. And that was it. It was impossible anyone could have seen the light of one candle from miles away. But one student saw it and dared to say something. And that's all they had to go on. One candle from miles away. It's absurd. Till you realize, absurd or not, the teacher told this true story, and it saved them. A stranger who couldn't sleep, and a student who dared to speak up. And by the way, they arrived just before dawn. The awakened Bedouins emerged from their tents with food and water just in time, because if they had arrived any later, they would have had to wait a whole other day to eat or drink. So again, this may not be a Christmas story or a Christian story, but it still teaches that in the darkest part of the night, the light of one candle makes a difference. In fact, if it hadn't been the deepest part of the night, well, it wouldn't have seen it, because that's when it shines the brightest, in the deepest part of the night. And I think that's true in our personal lives too, that light shines brightest during our most lonely and frightened times. But sometimes we can't see it, and we have to trust the person who points to what we can't yet see. And tonight it makes me think of the impossibly dark night of our country. Our hopes of finally emerging from this pandemic keep getting extinguished. So it's even more important that we light a candle for hope. It makes a difference. And in the midst of a country consumed with anger toward one another that feels like we're on the brink of war, we light a candle for peace. Makes a difference. And though for many holidays are painful reminders of loss, we light a candle for joy. And it makes a difference. And because even one candle makes a difference for people who feel excluded or are told, you don't belong here, we light a candle for love. And it's not silly or ridiculous or absurd. It is the one thing that saved those students in the desert, and it's one way you can change the world for someone. Just light a candle for them or for yourself. Light always shines brightest in the darkest part of the night. I want you to get that. Light shines the brightest in the darkest part of night. And we can be that light of Christ for someone. In fact, you are that light of Christ. I want you to believe it. I actually do want you to believe it. And then ask you to share it. Are you willing to share it? So we are going to share the light of Christ with one another. Only tip the unlit. Do you have a candle? difference that you are here tonight. This is not just a ritual of something that happened thousands of years ago. This is the ongoing belief of our faith that we can change the world through something as simple as lighting a candle, and something as simple as sharing a meal with someone who is hungry, or a piece of clothing for someone who is naked, or visiting someone in prison. We can make a difference with our faith. Tonight we fill ourselves up with the joy of our faith that we might use it. Please hold your candle up. Yes, you can make a difference. And now may God bless you and keep you. May God's face shine upon you and be gracious to you. May God look upon you with kindness and give our whole world peace. Amen.